So I own a Lamborghini Huracan STO. It's my third car next to my McLaren and my Tesla. And if you don't know what it looks like, here's a photo of it right here. And yeah, I recently got into a crash with it. Now let me back up and tell you how it actually happened. My friend's birthday was coming up and he wanted to invite me over to his party at his house. He said it was just going to be his family there and a few other of us. So I was telling him, yeah, I would totally pull up. I was going to pull up in the Tesla just regularly because I didn't want to overshadow his party at any point. You know, it's his birthday, it's his celebration. I'm not going to take that from him. But he actually asked me if I wanted to bring it because he thought it'd be cool. And I was like, yeah, of course, I would bring it. The one thing I did ask him though was that I requested if I could park it in his driveway just because I don't like parking the cars on the street. I know it's a little cautious to think that, but when it's parked out on the street, I just think about all the cars driving by it and how possible it is for someone to just hit it. So I made sure to ask him beforehand. He said it was completely fine. He actually wanted it to be in the driveway because then it would kind of look cool whenever people entered the house. So anyways, I say yes. I told him I'll meet him at the party. He says 7 p.m. I'm like, okay, cool. Before the party, I actually drive over to my parents' house. I fill the car with gas and everything. And I just have some pizza with my family because they wanted to see me. I didn't fill up all the way, obviously, because I knew there was going to be food at the party and I didn't want to get too full beforehand. But yeah, after I left my parents' house, I started making my way over to his house. I'm just going to say that my friend's name is Kevin. We're going to pretend like that's his name. It's really not. But for the sake of the story, his name's Kevin. I start making my way over to Kevin's house. I already know exactly where it is because I've been there multiple times and I used to hang out with him a lot. So when I make it over to his house, I drive up and I don't park in the driveway just yet because I want to get full confirmation from him and his parents that it's actually okay. I didn't want to just take their spot without asking. I get out and I knock on the door, but nobody answers. I was really confused if I had the wrong house and I knew I didn't because I've been to this house multiple times. I checked the address and everything and yeah, I'm at the right house. But then I look through the front door and I realize they're all in the backyard. They're all kind of doing a celebration. So I'm like, okay, that's perfectly fine. I understand why no one's answering the door. It's because they're all outside. You can't really hear the doorbell when you're back in the backyard, you know? So I walk back to my car, I sit inside and I just wait there. I don't park it in the driveway just yet because I still don't know if it's okay. I start texting my friend. I'm like, hey, whenever y'all are done out there, if you could come out to the front and like see me real quick or like get your parents out here just to confirm that everything's good, that would be chill. He doesn't respond for a while because they're obviously celebrating his birthday. He's not gonna be looking at his phone every 5 seconds. So I decided to just wait there on the street in my parked Lamborghini and I don't have it on or anything. So all the lights are off. The dash cam is off, which was a really bad thing now that I think about it. But the exact nightmare that I expected just happens instantly. I'm waiting in my car. I'm literally just watching TikTok on my phone and I'm scrolling through. About 5 minutes pass by. I see other people start pulling up to the party. Everyone's kind of gathering there. He still hasn't read my text message, so I'm still kind of waiting to put the car in the driveway. Anyways, I'm on my phone waiting in the car and suddenly I just see this white sedan kind of pull up next to me and make a U-turn. And I'm like, okay, I'm not really sure why they're U-turning there. Maybe to find a better parking spot, but they actually come back around and then they start backing up behind me. So I'm like, oh, this guy's just parking next to the house. He's probably gonna be in the party. He starts parking behind me and I look at my rear view and I see him getting kind of close, but for some reason I just trust him. I'm like, okay, he's gonna stop, right? Well, it turns out he doesn't stop and he backs all the way up into my car and hits my Lamborghini. I'm just here on my phone and I literally just feel the biggest hit from my back. Pause. But I'm just on my phone like this and my body just goes boop. And I'm like, what in the world just happened? Obviously, I saw him backing up into me, so I know that he backed into me. And at the moment, I just didn't know what to do. I instantly just opened the door and I got out. And I'm like, okay, whoever this guy is, like, I gotta talk to him because he just hit my car. So I want to have a conversation with what happened, maybe exchange insurance. I exit the car and right as I get out, this guy is just driving off all the way down the street. And this is when I start to get so mad because not only is that a hit and run, but you just hit like my nicest car. If it was the Tesla or something, I wouldn't be as mad. But like, this is the one time I bring the car out. Anyways, at this point, I'm not really mad that he hit my car. I'm more mad that he ran. So I instantly get my phone out and I start recording him driving away. And I read his license plate out loud on the video so that now he has no chance to get out. You know, I can contact his insurance. I could, you know, get whatever information I want, call them up, be like, hey, I just got involved in a hit and run, and I could get my justice. Either way, this is the exact time that Kevin walks out of his house because he was just celebrating his birthday and he was like, dude, what was that loud sound? And I was like, someone just backed into my car, like just now. And he was like, what, really? And I was like, yep, I'm gonna search up his license plate. At this point, I feel so bad because it's my friend Kevin's birthday and now I'm stressing over someone who hit my car. I go around and look at the back of it. Luckily, there was no damage, like whatsoever, not even a tiny scratch. But that's not the problem. The problem now is that this guy ran after hitting me and I want to know who it is. So I start talking to Kevin and then he realizes that the person who hit my car was someone from our school that he invited to the party. And so I ask him who it is and we're just gonna say his name is Michael. So my friend Kevin is like, yeah, I think Michael hit your car and ran. And when I hear his name, I'm like, whoa, I knew this kid. I start to think back about all the times I knew him and like I talked to him and Michael was the coolest dude in the world. I never had any problems with him. He was always so chill. We always had cool conversations and we were pretty good friends in high school. Obviously we didn't talk much after we graduated high school, but that's how it happens. But I just started remembering like, why would he hit my car and run? This this guy was the coolest dude I've ever known. I feel like it's so out of character for him to do something like that. But at this point, I don't care anymore. I'm like, you know, he was my friend, but I'm still going to call the cops or something. And then my friend Kevin is like, wait, just chill out a second. Let me call Michael and see if he wants to come back. And I'm thinking, bro, he just hit my car and he ran. There's no way he's coming back. Maybe if he stopped and got out to talk to me, then it would be a different story. But he full on drove away, like out of the neighborhood. Anyways, he calls Michael up, talks to him for a little bit, and he actually convinces him to come back. So at this point, I'm kind of like pacing around Kevin's house. I'm like apologizing to him because I don't want to ruin his birthday in any way, but I want to get this figured out. So Michael ends up actually coming back. He walks up to the front door to meet me, and like at this point, I'm pretty mad, but like I'm pretty chilled out because it's been about 10 minutes. And then he comes up to me and he shakes my hand and he's like, dude, I am so sorry about hitting your car and running away. And at this point, I'm like, you know, that's not gonna cut it. But he really does give me a pretty deep apology, and he looks like he really means it. He was pretty red in the face, and I kind of, you know, talked him through it. I said my words, you know, he apologized. And then at this point, I kind of just said, you know what, there's no damage. It was really uncool of you to do that. You know, obviously mistakes happen, like you hit my car, but running away is like a whole different story. But surprisingly, after that, I was kind of just like, you know what, dude, we're still friends. Like, I can understand where you're coming from as long as you can understand me. He pretty much respects me, and he knows that like what he did was wrong, and he completely apologizes for it. So only because I was friends with him in high school and I know that he's not a horrible person, I actually kind of forgive him. And I'm like, you know what, we're here to enjoy a party. Like, it's Kevin's birthday, we shouldn't ruin it for him. He wants all of us to be here, so like I'm not gonna leave, and I don't want you to leave. Me and Michael kind of make out we make up, okay? Me and Michael make up. We shake hands, we kiss. No. We shake hands, and we're just like, yo, water under the bridge, no damage happened. I'm not gonna call the cops, I'm not gonna call insurance. Let's just forget about it, okay? So then I take my car and I park it back up in the driveway, and we all have a good time at the party. So luckily there was no damage on that, but I've actually been in 2 accidents, not 1. The first accident I was not so lucky in, and that first accident happened all the way back in high school when I was actually using my brother's car to get to school every day because I just got my license and I couldn't afford my own car yet, you know? I was working at Chipotle at the time and going to school, and my brother never used his car in the morning, so he just said I could use it if I wanted to. So I was like, yeah, of course. It's about a month into school, I'm driving the car every single day, and then one of the times I'm going down the road just on my regular route to school, listening to some music, and right at this intersection, some guy just cuts straight in front of me and hits me straight on. I think I have a picture of it. I'll put it right here. This is what my brother's car looked like after the crash, and if you look at it, it looks like it's fixable, right? Like you can get it repaired. Anyways, at this point, when he crashes into me, I start just holding down my horn. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why would you just pull in front of me like that? There are so many cars here. And to my surprise, I get out, and it's a full-grown man taking his daughter to school too. Like, his daughter goes to the same school, and he's just driving her there. So I'm like, there's no way this guy is like twice as old as me, and he makes that kind of mistake. It was such a simple mistake. The cops come out after we get into this crash. All the traffic behind me is fully blocked up. Like, there's nobody passing us because we're just in the middle of the road right here with our crash. The officer comes out and he's like, hey, can we move the cars out of the road and then assess what happened? I'm like, yeah, I'll try and drive it. I'm able to drive it into like some parking lot with this other guy that crashed into me. I'll show a picture of his car as well right here. That's what his car looked like compared to my car. And then I start talking to the police. I call up my dad and I tell him, hey dad, I just got into a car accident on my way to school. And then he's like, okay, I'm on my way. My dad starts driving on his way there. But while I'm waiting for my dad, I have to talk to this police officer because, you know, you just got into a car accident. He has to figure out what's going on. We got to get paperwork done. So the police officer starts talking to me and he says, okay, tell me exactly what happened. So I tell him I was going straight on the road. I had the right of way. There was no reason for me to stop. And then this guy just makes a turn and goes straight in front of me and crashes into my car. And so the police officer is like, yeah, okay, that was most definitely his fault. You should definitely get his insurance and everything, which I did. But then he says that he can't report the accident. What? You can't report the accident? Why? He tells me, well, it's because it was a very minor accident, but unfortunately your car is probably totaled. What? So it was a minor accident, but my car is totaled. That seems like 2 completely different things. How can it be minor, but my car is gone, you know? And my brother's car, by the way, not my car. This is my brother's. He tells me, yeah, it was a minor accident, so like there's not really anything to really report. We got it resolved. It's his fault, but your car is probably not going to be drivable. Once again, look at the photo. This car does not look like it's totaled. It looks like I could easily fix it, right? Just get this guy's insurance money, get some shop to fix it. It'll be driving again. And he's like, no, it looks like you actually hit a very important part of your car and you're not going to be able to fix that most likely. And I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe this police officer doesn't know what he's talking about because it does not look that bad, really. So I go and talk to the guy that crashed into me and he was like, oh, I was trying to make a turn. I was trying to go into the school way. And I was like, no, dude, don't try and pull that. You made a wrong turn into me. And he was like, okay, well, we're just gonna have to see what the insurance says. And so I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's see what the insurance says, okay? I don't have to talk to you about it. Now at this point, my dad pulls up. He asks what happened. He talks to the police officer and kind of gets filled in on the situation. The other guy that crashed into me calls up some of his friends to come be with him after the accident. And I'm like, what is going on at this point. Why'd this guy call his friends over? Like, it makes sense for me to call my dad because, you know, I'm a 17-year-old kid and I need my parents, okay? But this guy called up his friends, and the only reason I could think of why he called them up is because he probably thought I was gonna fight him. Like, obviously I was mad at this point, and I was like, dude, you crashed into my car. Like, this was my only car. I have nothing else to drive. I was so mad at this point. And I think he thought that I was gonna like swing. Why would I make that situation way worse? Like, there's a police officer right here, first of all. Second of all, I would never do that. But yeah, he calls up his friends and they all just kind of stand near him like ready. And I'm just here with my dad like, what in the world is going on? Mind you, it was also raining super hard at this point. Like, I was standing outside in the rain and I still had to go to school. Like, I was late 15 minutes to school at this point. I had to get to my first class. So then the police officer asks if my dad can drive my car home. And so my dad's like, yep. But then there's a situation now because my dad's car is here and then my crashed car is here. How is he gonna get both of those cars home? I was like, Dad, I can help you drive like one of the cars home. And he was like, no, you go to school. And so I was like, okay, I'll see you later. I'll go to school. So my dad ends up taking my car all the way home, and then he walks all the way from my house back to my school, hops in his car, and then drives that home, which I felt so bad afterwards for because he had work as well. He was in the middle of working from home. So he had to interrupt it to take like an hour or something to go drive these cars home. And he was like, don't worry, after you come home from school, we'll figure this all out with insurance. Thank goodness my dad was there because I didn't know how to handle that situation. But anyways, then I walk into class and I am just sad. The entire day, I'm so sad. I text Shady and I'm like, dude, I got into a car accident this morning. He was like, what? Are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. It was a minor accident, but apparently my car is unrepairable. And then he asked me this question. He's like, okay, now that I know everything is okay, what song were you listening to? And I was like, what? What do you mean, what song was I listening to? He was like, I just want to know. I'm just curious. And I was like, oh, I was listening to this song, blank. I can't play it because it's copyrighted, but the song was just like some random hip hop song that I listened to on my way to school. But then I talked to all my other friends about it. They noticed that I'm sad and I'm like, guys, I just got into a car accident. Like, I'm not sad about the accident. I'm just sad that I don't have a car to drive anymore. And the fact that it was my brother's car and I feel like I let him down. I even texted my brother. I was like, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Like, I don't know what happened. And he was like, dude, it wasn't your fault. Car accidents happen all the time. Like, I'm just glad you're okay. And so at this point, I'm kind of happy that like, he's not mad at me. My dad's not mad at me. You know, everyone kind of realizes that it wasn't my fault. Even if it was my fault, you know, mistakes happen, but it wasn't my fault. So anyways, I get home from school and I talk to my dad. We go on the phone with the insurance people. We send them the photos of my car and they're like, yeah, it's total. What? How? How is the car totaled? I don't know. Anyways, the officer was right. Yep, we couldn't get the car back, but the insurance company was like, don't worry, we'll contact his insurance and get back to you. So at this point, now we're just waiting on the insurance to see what to do at this point because we can't go repair the car anymore. And I don't have a car to drive to school. So I hop on a call with Shady, and for some reason, he sends me this video of a Google Maps view of the exact spot where I crashed, and then he plays music over it, which is the same song that I was listening to as I got into the car crash. So it's like he's trying to make me like relive this, and I'm like, bro, this is why you asked for the song? You wanted to recreate it? I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was hilarious. I was kind of done being sad about the crash at this point. I just started laughing so hard. He just kind of did it to cheer me up, which actually worked really well. But anyways, my brother gets home as well, and my dad gets home, and we finally get a call from the insurance company. They're finally gonna tell us what happened. And they call us and they say, hey, we won the case. It was totally the other guy's fault. And they're like, hey, your car was worth about, let's say 15,000, and we're gonna give you 23,000 for it. And I just looked at my dad and my brother and I was like, what? And then my brother was like, ah, well, I'm glad you did that. And I was like, wait, what? You're glad I got into a crash? But no, my brother ended up getting like 8,000 more dollars for that car than what he paid for. So in the end, he was able to buy a completely brand new car. It was like a 2022 compared to this 2015 Corolla, and it was just worth way more. So in the end, he got a better car out of it. But the only problem is now I'm left with no car. So at this point, I have to end up walking to school for a little bit. I sometimes take my dad's car because he works from home at this point. It's around 2020, so he's kind of just working online with his coworkers. And then a certain point comes by where my other brother, yes, I have two, my other brother decides to get a new car. He wants to buy like a new SUV, and then my parents say that I can have his car. So I ended up getting a 2011 Nissan Altima. It was silver, and I'm not gonna lie, even though it was older, this car was actually better. For some reason, it was faster and it had less problems and it had more space, and I loved this car to death. This Nissan Altima was like my favorite car I've ever driven. It had 100,000 miles on it and it was over 10 years old, and I still had zero issues with it. Granted, my brother fixed all the problems on it before he gave it to me, so that's kind of why I had no problems. But I drove this car for over a year and literally no issues came up. And so I started falling in love with this Nissan Altima. It was the best car in the world. I still to this day think Nissan Altimas are amazing cars. But thank goodness I never got into a crash with that car, and I ended up moving out with it. I went to go get my new apartment a couple years later after I graduated. I moved into this whole new apartment with my Nissan Altima parked in my spot. But then this is the point where I made some money from YouTube and I decided to get my own cars, which is when I started getting nicer cars. We still ended up keeping the Nissan Altima for like, I want to say a year or two. Like, we've just had it at my parents' house for so long. Thankfully, very recently we sold it and we got actually a good amount of money out of it. My dad put it on like the marketplace and talked to some guys and he got it sold, which thank goodness, because if you sold it to a dealership, he would have lost a lot of money. But in the end, it kind of all worked out. Both my brothers got new cars. I got the Nissan Altima, which I loved. My dad ended up selling it later on and getting more money for it. And Shady made a funny video out of it, which I still sometimes watch to this day and laugh about because it was hilarious. But yeah, that's the story of how I got into an accident with my Lamborghini and my 2015 Toyota Corolla, which was technically not mine. It was actually my brother's. So if you enjoyed the story time, make sure to leave a like. If we hit 10,000 likes, I'll definitely do more of these story times. And make sure to click one of these videos. I promise you'll like them. Follow me on Instagram at CashOnYT and subscribe so we can hit 1 million subscribers. All right, I'll see you guys later. Peace.